Alright guys, big welcome to our channel. We are Team Crushing the Meta, and I'm here for you guys with the deck profile to talk about Spike for this. It's actually something that you wanted me guys to make a video to talk about, because this is the deck that I used in the team event for the Bushiroad Championship Series of 2019, and I was able to go 5-1 with the deck. I lost the first match against Great Nature to do a miscalculation that I made, so it was all my fault actually, well, not the deck fault. So some people have been asking me like how to go against different decks like Kagero, Bermuda Triangle, Murakumo, different decks and different matchups, and with Spike in standard, how people think that the deck is not strong enough to be able to win those matchups. Well, first let's go through the deck, and after that I will talk a little bit about the strategies that you could use to play against different decks. So for me, my deck list actually stayed the same for a while. I didn't change it that much because there is no other options to go into. So for the grade 3 lineup, we're going with 4 copies of Siegfried, of course, and then 4 copies of Juggernaut Maximum. I do not play Unite Attacker, and I really don't see a reason why. There is one matchup that you actually need Unite Attacker against, and that is Narukami. The Shadow Paladin matchup is okay, the Kagero matchup is okay, only Narukami actually needs a little bit of that Unite Attacker skill at the end, or let's say in the late game. The problem with Unite Attacker is he does nothing in the early game, while the Juggernaut actually has a huge power on himself, and you could still give a marker to a Vanguard to make 2 other huge columns. Siegfried is your best ride target, and you only want to ride from a Siegfried to another Siegfried to get multiple markers if needed, but normally just sitting on one Siegfried is good enough, and that's why the Murakumo matchup is really not a bad matchup, because don't give them the 3 damage to be able to lock you that you cannot even attack with a Vanguard. But if you cannot ride, that's good for this deck that actually does nothing, because you normally don't really even want to ride into something else than a Siegfried. So what you do is you ride into Siegfried and you give the marker to Siegfried himself. That's very important. But before we go into the strategies, let's just go through the deck and show you my deck list. So for the grade 3s, as I said, the Siegfried and the Juggernaut. Juggernaut is important to play at 4 because the same as Brachy, they call themselves, and because of that sometimes you want to have as much copies of them as you can have in your deck left. So you could use their skill or Siegfried skill, or use their skill and use Siegfried skill on something else, or even use their skill and then use Siegfried skill on them, so you have no copies left of them in your deck, which makes the chance of you getting a trigger even higher. And that's what this deck do. It stacks triggers to the bottom of the deck, you reshuffle, you get your normal unit out of the deck, and with that you build drive checking crit, or 2 crits in every drive check, and that's what you want. At least 1 crit to finish your opponent off. So enough about the grade 3s, let's go into the grade 2s. We will go back and explain the strategies later. For the grade 2 lineup, and this is a huge lineup, you play 12 grade 2s in this deck, and because your Spike Bouncer, you play him at 4. The Brachy, you play also at 4. Then you have 3 of the Panther and 2 of the Middle Guard. Okay, the deck actually uses Brachy a lot. What you want to do is you want to open up at least with 1 Brachy in your hand, and you want the Spike Bouncer. The Spike Bouncer is because you're taking the first damage almost every time. If you do not have a Spike Bouncer in your hand, then there is no reason to take the first damage. So when they attack with 8 on your 8, you just guard that with a crit with a no pass, because you don't want them to hit you with a crit to the face early game. But also what you do against some other decks like Bermuda Triangle, you have 2 options. You have the option to guard early game, so you could take more attacks late game, without them having the force 2, of course. When they get force 2, then the strategy is off. And you have the other strategy to take some damage early game, but not too much, and then pressure them back to hit the Vanguard back, because maybe Bermuda has a huge hand, but half of those cards are grade 3s, so you could just easy kill them, because everything that Spike Brother does, Bermuda could do it better. but Spike Brothers does it first. So rush, you rush them. Huge column, you make them. But Bermuda make them better in the late game. So the thing with spikes, it's a very strong deck, but only good in the early mid game. When you go into the late game, you start losing your copies. You start losing counterblast because you've used most of them. You start losing hand advantage because you don't make that much hand advantage. And that's when the other decks of the other clans becomes better. So you don't have to think too much about defense. Sometimes you want to, but not too much. What you want to do is not lose momentum of the match. When you see them getting too much heals, you have to hit them hard, because if you don't make them cry and suffer and lose their best resources, then you're not playing spikes the right way. So why are we playing only 3 Panthers? Because Panther does not need to call himself like the Bracky, so you only need Panther to recall with the skill of Siegfried. There is also no reason to give Panther the extra 15k if you're not killing your opponent. That's also important, because then you'll be running out of Panthers. I never do that. I only do that as a last attack if I know that my opponent cannot guard that extra 10k, or if that was my only choice to finish them off. Then I give him a 15k. If not, then just give him the 5k, or give him nothing if your opponent will let the attack through, or they will PG it anyway. The mid guard is very important, and it's also important to understand that this card does not need a grade 3 Vanguard to work. He just defend a grade 3 unit that is attacked, so that's very important. If you have called your Juggernaut Maximum with like Spike Bouncer and they attack into the Juggernaut Maximum, you could use this card as a 15k shield to stop that attack. But again, you could always take one out to put another Panther and the other one to put a Unite attacker in here or something, because it does work on some matchups, but I do not agree with that strategy, because you need 3 attackers in the early game to just hit your opponent. And if they attack into him, that's okay. If they retire him, that's okay. He is just in there as extra shield, but at the same time also an attacker. So that's it for the grade 2 lineup. Now we go to the grade 1s. Also, the Spike Bouncer has a very important job when we go against Shadow Paladin, Narukami and Kagero, the clans that could retire. Then Spike Bouncer will be the one who eats your counterblasts and not your General Siegfried, because again, Narukami is a clan that does not have that much defense, but they do destroy your offense, and that's actually kind of their defense. Okay, for the grade 1 lineup, it's the same as the grade 2. You have your Gyro Slinger, which is a card that you want to keep to use with your Siegfried late game if needed. So do not go crazy on the Gyro Slinger, like riding into him and putting a card from your hand to call the top card, because that's just stupid. Why? If you call the top card, then you're calling at random. You're doing the same as what Bermuda Triangle does, which is actually a cheap imitation of what Spike Bouncer could do, as I like to call it, the grade 2 for Bermuda Triangle. The thing with this card is, you want to get at grade 2 or grade 3 to be able to check more cards from the top. So you could call your Bracky, your Juggernaut, your Panther, something that are good that you want to have on the field. So just do not just put a crit from your hand to the soul to soul blast that with him and then put it back with a Wonder Boy and you think you have a very good strategy. That's not a good strategy, because you lost a 15k shield from your hand. The Gyro Slinger becomes very good when you have cards in your hand that you cannot use anymore, like a Spike Bouncer, and you're going crazy on the counterblast with, let's say, your Siegfried. Or you have a second copy of Siegfried and you don't want to ride, or you have a Juggernaut or too much Brackies in your hand, then you use this card to get even more power to the field if needed, or to get a booster or something if you cannot get to your Wonder Boys. So that's important to understand when to use some cards and when not to, and also wait to the right moment to use them. And the same goes with Wonder Boy. You actually use Wonder Boy each turn to put random cards from the drop zone back, you could do that or wait till you have the right cards to put back, because you only have 3 Wonder Boys, because one you already have on the field, maybe you lost another one, you could call only 2. You have to be smart about what to call and when to call, and just do not put random cards back to your deck that you do not need in your deck, because there is no reason to do that. Normally you just want to put triggers to be able to drive check better in the late game, let's say. And then of course we have the 4 copies of Commander Gary Cannon. This card is really amazing. He gets you the right cards to your hand, but also he put cards from the hand back to the bottom of the deck, cards that you want to recall because of their own abilities or because of Seafried ability. So that's why Commander Gary Cannon is also very good. Sometimes you also put triggers back to your hand. You're losing defense, but at the same time you are putting cards that you could drive check again. Again, it's all about having a very good drive check in the late game that your opponent will think, huh, how could you get that drive check? That's amazing. And you'll be like, well, if you see my deck, then you would understand. But yeah. So that's a great one lineup. I think that for the Spike Road players, we can't really play any different lineup because we don't have the promo and we really don't want to play any of the other cards. So 12 grade 2 ones are good in standard. I didn't really have any problems with that. Premium, I like to pump that number up to 13. For the grade 0s, of course, we have the starter Mega Trainer. Will always be our starter, which is ironic because we play him in premium and in standard. And premium we have 2 choices between the old one and the new one. And in standard we will be playing this card for a very long time. Well, that's the feeling that I get. For the trigger lineup, we're going with the 8 crits right here. Yeah, okay, some people would like to play the 7 crit build or 6 on 6, that's good. It's up to you, but that's just defeating the purpose of the deck. You need the 8 crits. If you could play more, then you would play more. Just play 12 crits, that's okay. The thing is with this deck, you have the strong column that Seafried makes, which has the hit ability, which will never hit if your opponent has a perfect guard or enough shield in their hand, or your opponent is too stupid to guard your Seafried, that's up to them. Then you attack first with a Rare Guard. So your field would be looking like this. You have your Seafried as the Vanguard. Then you have 2 Rare Guards. So let's say you're having a Bracky and a Juggernauts as your field. This is your field. You have the marker, which you normally, as I said, if you ride only once, you give it to the Seafried, and you have using his skill, so he is a 23 by himself, and this is a let's say 20 because of its own ability, and you have something like a Wonder Boy behind him because the 8k with the 10k makes a perfect number. And if you have enough counterblasts or even 1 counterblast, you use it to make the Juggernaut a 33 attacker. What you want to do is you attack first with the 33 on your opponent Vanguard, which is a 25k shield for your opponent to guard. Because this attack does only 1 damage, your opponent would be taking this attack. You attack with this, they will be guarding this one, and with this you try to make a huge column. So let's say that you get a critical in your drive check and something else, which doesn't matter, your crit will go to the Bracky and the power 2. So Bracky would be 30 by himself because he's 20, with the extra power that's 30, that's 38, and that's 43 because of Wonder Boy ability. 43 to your opponent with an extra crit, and that's when they have to guard or have to PG this attack again. This is the strong thing about Spike Brothers, is having that strong last attack that your opponent would have to guard. But if this attack does not have the extra crit, then sometimes they could take this as well, and if they keep taking those and healing back, or taking those and having more PGs to guard them later on, then you're losing the match. You want your opponent to guard this or lose to this, and that's why you want to have the extra crits. When we get Force 2, that will be a whole different thing, because you'll be having the Force 2 marker going to the Rare Guard with the strongest power, and that's the Rare Guard that you will attack with first. So you will already have a, let's say a 38 or 42 attacking Rare Guard, and with that your opponent would have to guard this. You already are powering up your Siegfried, and your Siegfried will attack, let's say, for 23 or 33, or having a booster behind him, which is good because you still can use the Siegfried skill on the booster to make this attack strong, so give it that extra 20k, that's possible. But they would have to guard this, and then when you get crit on your drive check, you give it to the last one, and this will also attack very strong. So they would have to guard 3 attacks each turn. The first one because it already had a crit from the marker, the second one because it's already a huge powerhouse by itself, and because it has the hit ability and it could do them 2 damage if you drive check a crit, and the last one because that one will also get the crit from the drive check, and with that you have 3 huge columns. Now, because we have only force 1, even if you give that force 1 to the Vanguard, which would make this a 33 attack by using the Siegfried skill only once, your opponent would mostly just perfect guard this attack, or no pass this attack, which they will always do. But the problem is, your first attack that you attack with already got through to their Vanguard, and maybe they got like a damage trigger or something, which actually cancels the effect of the force marker that you already have underneath the Siegfried. So you want your opponent to guard the first attack, or you could also attack to a rear guard, but this amount of power attacking a rear guard is just a waste of energy for the Juggernaut. So that's why you want to go face multiple times, and that's why force 2 will make the deck, or this deck, way better. Okay, that's just a small or short explanation of how you could use the crits, and that's why you also play the 8 crits. For the rest of the triggers, of course, we play the 4 heal and the 4 draw. The heals are good, it's just extra power. I do not think that Spike Brother players should take their heals out. Maybe if we get more crits, so we could play the 12 crits, then I could take out the heals to play crits. So it could be, the deck could be even more aggressive. And I actually didn't play draw or heals until the, let's say, mids of the G era, or the G era when we got the G Guardians. Before that, in the Limit Break era, I took the heals out because they sometimes cancel your Limit Break, and they cancel the damage that you have. Like, let's say you have 5 damage, you go back to 4, which in the Legion era meant 1 less attack with your Ogles, because you could still counter charge and stuff. So yeah, in this deck you could take out the heals to get more, or to play more crits, but not draws. Draws are not needed in Spike, because even with a small hand you could still get enough field or get a huge power with your Siegfried. So there is no reason to draw, because you'll be drawing triggers, you'll be drawing the units that you need in your deck. There is really no reason to draw. There is reason to have like a high shield value, which the heals have, and the draws does not have that, which is just a 5k. Yes, you could discard them with this. Yes, you could put them to your soul with your Gyre Slinger, but again, you have to be smart about the way you use your Gyre Slingers. It's very important to do that. Okay, so that's actually the deck list. So let's go back and talk a little bit about each and every card. We have your great ones, and as I said, I already talked about the Wonder Boy, and I said when to use him is very important, and the unit that you put back to your deck are also very important. There are of course some strategies that you could do with the Wonder Boy that are very smart. So let's say you do not have any Brackis left in your deck, then what you want to do is you want to use the skill of the Wonder Boy first to put them into the soul, and to call a new Wonder Boy. The new Wonder Boy will put the Brachy from the drop zone back to the bottom of the deck, and then you will use the Brachy skill to call the new one. That's a small strategy or an easy strategy that you could use. Of course, most of you guys already figured that one out. If you're going the other way around, let's say you do not want to put a Brachy in your deck, but you have a trigger in your drop zone. Then you use the Wonder Boy skill first, again, to put him into the soul to call a new Wonder Boy, and the new Wonder Boy will put the trigger to the bottom of the deck. Then you will use the Brachy skill to call a new Brachy, and then you shuffle the deck. So the trigger that you have put back with the Wonder Boy will shuffle into the deck. Then there is another strategy. Let's say that you do not have any trigger left, but you want to use the Wonder Boy skill to put something else to the bottom of the deck, like a Juggernaut, or a Panther, or another Z-Fruit. There is no reason to do that, but if you want to, it's up to you. Then you use first the skill of Brachy, put the soul to call a new Brachy, and then you use the skill of Wonder Boy to call a new Wonder Boy, and the new Wonder Boy will put that unit into the bottom of the deck, and you will not shuffle because this is the last thing that you have done. So that's important to know what to use first, because those small details do make a big difference, and that's what also makes you a very good Spark for the player, is to use everything in your arsenal to be able to play and win your matches. Because when playing Spike, when playing Tachikaze, when playing Meakoni, when playing Cleanse that did not have enough waves of support yet, you'll have to play twice as hard as your opponent to be able to win the matches. Because let's say you're playing Spike and you're going against Bermuda. As I said, everything that Spike does, Bermuda could do, but better. So how could you win that matchup? Easy. Now, I call it easy, maybe some of you will call me crazy, but there is a very good strategy to win your matchups against Bermuda. I've already done a video on our channel, me playing as Bermuda, and even my opponent got the ability to miracle heal that game. I still won. The thing is, when you go against Bermuda, if you are going first, so you go first, you go to grade 1, they go to grade 1, they attack into you. Again, if you have a Spike Bouncer in your hand, you do not guard. If you don't have a Spike Bouncer in your hand, you guard, because then you don't need that damage early on. So then, with a critical trigger, of course, or a heal, that it's no pass. I would rather just put a crit out there. Even a heal, sometimes it's okay to lose that extra 5k. Let's say that you have a Spike Bouncer in your hand and you take the damage, you ride into the Spike Bouncer, you use that Counter Blast to get something to the field like a Juggernaut or a Brachy. Like 90% of the time I hit a Juggernaut. I don't know why, it's my luck, but it's a good luck. And then that's when I said you need the Brachy in your hand, because you will make this field 20, 23, 10. And now if you have something like a Commander Gary Cannon, you put that to the field. If you have something like a Wonder Boy and you do not have anything in the drop zone that you want to put it back, don't put the Wonder Boy yet to the field. Keep him in your hand. The same goes with Gyro Slinger. If you do not want to use his ability, keep him in your hand. You don't have to commit to the field this much if you don't need to. You could, but you don't have to. Your opponent's Vanguard is at 10, or if you go first, they are at 8. You attack with a 20 on their 8. If they get a trigger, you attack with the 18 on their 8, which this has the hit ability, so normally they guard this with a crit. You get a critical trigger, you give everything to him, and you attack with a 33, and they would have to drop a 25k shield right there to stop him, or at least a 23 or a 33 in this case. Yeah, may sometimes even more, but that's crazy, and that's your turn. That's how your turn would look like. Then it's up to them. Then it's their turn again. When you have a field like this, they will take out the Brachy or take out the Juggernaut. If you have some attackers in your hand, just let them take them out, it's no problem. If you do not have, but you have something like a Gyro Slinger, also let them take these guys out. They're okay, there you have enough to recall. So let's say they take both of them out and they do not give you Counter Blast, it's up to you, it's your turn. You ride into the General Z-Fruit, you get the Force Marker, and when you give it to the Z-Fruit. You already hit with this or not, it's on the field. And then you now can call some new stuff. So you could call the Gyro Slinger, and you activate the Gyro Slinger skill to put something from your hand to the soul to recall again a Brachy or Juggernaut or a Panther, some of your good attackers, or even a Wonder Boy if you have some stuff to put back. If you have called, let's say in this time, a something like a Panther, which let's not say we are too lucky, we get a Panther. Brachy is better to hit, but Panther is also good. You get the extra 5k from him. Then you could use the Z-Fruit skill on this. Counter Blast 1, call this right here. This makes perfect column. Then this all you get the extra 10k, he got the extra 10k. You attack with this first, and If you don't have him on the field, you could also target the Gyro Slinger. You put the Gyro Slinger to the soul with the Seafried skill, put a card from your hand into the soul, and call a new Gyro Slinger, and the new Gyro Slinger could call something new as well, or leave him chilling there. It's also good. But let's say you attack with this first, boosted by the Commander Gary Cannon, and you have this on the field right here, which is only 8k, but that's good, that's enough. So you attack with this, this is already 18, and with his skill and his skill, they get another 10k, so it's 28. 28, 38 because of his ability, that the 10k that's worth chilling on him. So 38 to the opponent Vanguard with a hit ability. They have to take this. If they guard this, good, that's good for them. But they have to take this, and with that, you are getting cards back to your hand. 2 cards, put 1 back, which is good. Then you attack with the General Seafried, which is sitting on 33k. Remember, your opponent's just chilling on grade 2, which means that they do have to put so many effort to stop this attack. And from this moment on, they will guard this. If they do not, you restand this, and this could attack for high number. If you get something on your drive check, you give it to him because this could still hit the Vanguard or the Rear Guard, and you still retire from his ability. And that's when you are pressuring your opponent. And you did not lose enough hand because you let the Juggernaut and the Bracky die. If you could guard them, like with 1 card, you go 1 for 1, that's good. But do not use 2 cards from your hand. Remember, you have to keep hand as well because you need to attack and defense. Then it's their turn, they ride into grade 3, they do some stuff, they attack your Regards, they attack your Vanguard, and then it's up to you to stand and ride, or stand and just put some Regards and attack. And that's the turn you win. The turn that they already got 1 turn to stay on grade 3. You go first, grade 1, they're grade 1, you're grade 2, they're grade 2, you're grade 3, you destroy them, they're grade 3, they have not that much to do. Even if they do, when it's back to you at grade 3, you will kill them. And that's the thing about this deck. It's so strong and lethal that you do not need to go to late game. Sometimes you even kill your opponent, they're just chilling on grade 2. But mostly, when they ride only once to the grade 3, you go to grade 3 and that's when you kill them. Especially with Bermuda. They just want to attack into your Vanguard because they think, well, you're chilling at 1 or 2 damage. It's not good because they would never win. But yeah, it's really up to them. So that's a strategy that you use against Bermuda. But there are different strategies. Strategy that you could use against Shadow Paladin, strategy that you could use against Narukami, against Kagero, against Royal Paladins. Every clan you have to play different against. And that's the good thing about you playing one deck. Choose one clan, make it your favorite, or if you have a favorite, that's good. And make a build that suits you. And play with that build against different clans. Especially clans that you're having a hard time against. You have hard time against Great Nature? Play against Great Nature. Enough matches for you to develop a way to know how to play against that match. And that's how you win with Spike actually. You practice and practice and practice. You shadow play a lot. Shadow play is when you sit at home and you play against a mirror or play against yourself or play with against, let's say, yourself with another deck. And that's when you become very good because your opponent, which is you, already know what you have in hand, which you'll be losing a lot of matches. Like playing with Spike against Great Nature, when I play against myself, I lose a lot. Why? Because the Great Nature player, which is me, already knows how to hit me hard. So hit my Rear Guard at the right moment, hit my Vanguard at the right moment, and that's when you try having hard time. And when you play against another Great Nature player, you think, huh, this is actually easier. Not because you're a better player, or I think that I'm a better player. No, it's because I know what I have in my hand, and I know how to give myself a hard time. It's something that you guys could also try out. It's very good. But that was actually it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. For me, it was important to show you guys the deck, but actually it doesn't really matter which deck you play. It's really up to you to make a deck and practice, practice, practice. When you lose, that's when you have to practice again and practice harder. sometimes it's not the problem of the deck. Like Spike Brothers, a lot of people think, well, Spike Brothers is not any good anymore. Well, it would always be good if it's played the right way. It's really up to the player to make the right choices, because this deck is the most aggressive deck out there if you want to play it that way. The deck is a huge powerhouse. Being able to call like a General Seafried on your, or I mean a Juggernaut Maximum or a Brachio on your grade 2 turn, which could attack the 25 or the 28. It's just insane. When you attack to your opponent, they're on grade 1 or grade 2, and you say 40 to your Vanguard, and they would think, what? 40? Or you say 33, and they would like, what? How did you get to 33? And you say, well, hit this skill, that skill, this skill, and that skill, and they would be like, but that's a lot though. And you say yes, and also has a hit ability. And yeah, it's really a lot of fun to play Spikes. I myself, I enjoy the deck a lot, and it's just my favorite clan, all time my favorite clan, has always been and will always be. Okay, that was actually it. I hope that you guys again enjoyed this video. And last thing, I want you to know, for the Spike Brother players, which is your favorite art? For me, I love the old school Juggernaut Maximum art, but also I love the eyes on the new Juggernaut Maximum, which has like, he's in the zone thingy. So which is your favorite art? Is it the original? Is it the new? Or is it just Juggernaut Maximum because you also have that as the G Guardian, also in SP. We don't have this in SP because you have it in the original rare. Right. Thanks guys for watching. It was a very long ass video, but I hope that you guys have learned a thing or two from this. Or if you have something you want me to know, just put that in the comment section below, and also tell me which is your favorite art. Thanks guys for watching. Till next time.